What's up, fight fans? Welcome to Mr. Mustache MMA News. Today, I want to discuss Shavkat Rakhmonov. Normally, I talk about just specifically fights, breakdowns, really. I just like to discuss fights. I don't really discuss a lot of the drama that goes on outside of the octagon, right? But this Shavkat Rakhmonov being removed from the UFC rankings has got me a little, perplexed on the UFC being petty and salty. But guys, before we get into it, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button to continue getting more MMA content by yours truly. Help the channel grow. All right, guys, getting right into it. Today, after announcing knee surgery to repair a torn ACL, Shavkat Rakhmonov has been removed by the UFC rankings. He hasn't fought in a little over a year since he beat Ian Gary. I think it was in December of 2024. After that, had a broken bone in his foot that he needed to take quite some time off. And we haven't really had much of an update on his health. There's been a lot of question marks on his return because nobody really knows who should be fighting Islam next. And he, aside from his injury, was the clear #1 contender for that shot, right? But now coming out with his torn ACL, he has been removed from the UFC rankings. And where I have issue with this is that, you have guys like Colby Covington, right? I'm pretty sure who's still in the rankings. You have guys who have taken extremely long layoffs in the past, and mainly because they're company men, they have more favorable spots within the rankings. And a really good example that I kind of want to set is the UFC probably did not want him to have this knee surgery. They have a lot of times where they say, hey, let's, try and postpone this. Let's do something else. Maybe he went to his own private doctor. But this here is a clear punishment of inactivity for Shavkat, where the UFC, they've probably been wanting him to, go out there and fight and maybe put himself out there. And where a really good, I was on the Jackson podcast where Bobby Green was talking with Nicholas Maximoff, where he discussed where he had a couple of losses and then he had a knee surgery. And once he decided to have that knee surgery, took about 12 to 15 months off, UFC cut him. And Bobby Green, expressed hey, we get it. You have to take care of your body. But up at these big leagues, UFC want you to show your face. They want you to be active. They want you to kind of push through some of those things. They're very manipulative in a lot of those tactics. It's a lot like when they pushed Aljamain Sterling to defend his belt against Sean O'Malley, right? You have that video of Hunter and Aljo talking where Hunter's trying to motivate him, how great would it be to, go out there and get a victory over a guy like Sean O'Malley when Aljo's clearly sitting there telling him he's not comfortable in fighting. So the UFC, they're, obviously because they're accompanied, right? They want to put on these events. They want to put on for their top performance, put their top performers out there for the fans. But if the guys aren't healthy, the UFC kind of puts them in this pocket. Well, you want to be a company man? It's a lot of corporate stuff. I've had that a lot of times in my own professional life. So the UFC, they're definitely punishing Shavkat here, right? They're definitely trying to say, hey, if you're not going to fight for us, then we're just going to kick you right out of the rankings. Bottom of the line you go. I don't agree with it. I don't think it's fair because you have guys like Colby Covington who keep getting shots, who keep getting opportunities, who stay within the rankings even though they're not active, they're not winning. It's frustrating. But here we are. And it seems like enough people are talking about it, though. And, that's kind of my thoughts on the whole situation. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. What do you guys think about Shavkat being removed from the rankings? And also, does he fight again? It's a real question. It's a real question. But that's going to do it for today, guys. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. Mr. Mustache, MMA News out. Let's fucking go, fight fans.